There's a lot of courage in this little cloud. You should look at the Good Smile Company Kirby's Dreamland Nendoroids Kirby. Nendoroids are cute to look at, fun to play with, and great to collect. Kirby's Dreamland Kirby comes included with Fiery Crown and Fiery Blast, Link Sword and Hat, Magic Wand, and 4 interchangeable faces. Okay, so let's get this review underway. Now, the likelihood that you'll be able to stand Kirby up, well, it's impossible. I do sort of have him cheating right now, or I've cheated at least. I've got just a stand behind him just to prop him up. But if you wanted to see what Kirby is just on his own, he's a very tiny little chap. You don't mind if I call you chap, right? Okay, that's good. According to the tape measure, though, the Nendoroid version of Kirby stands 2.4 inches in height. Like I said, it's pretty small. And that works in centimeters out at being 6.2 centimeters tall. If you're lucky enough to pick up the Nendoroid Kirby for yourself, the first thing you'll probably want to look at before you start kind of getting into things, getting into mischief, is look at the rather extensive instruction guide. It just shows you how to peg the display stand in place. Don't worry, I'll do all of that for you. How to change out the faceplates. Don't worry, I'll show you that as well. And how to make use of the multitude of accessories that he comes included with as well. Don't worry, I'll show you guys all of that as well. The other thing that Kirby does come included with, sorry, I'll just move you over for a second. He does come included with a display stand. The display stand itself is fooling when you look at it. This Swiss cheese square doesn't have actually all the circles accessible like you would imagine. Sure, they're all available if you wanted them, but you only can really make use of these holes here. The 3 running, I guess, the running lines of holes here. This one, this one, this one, and this one are larger than all the others, and it's not going to work with the display stand. Let me show you how the stand works. You get 2 of them, actually. A longer one that's going to be for Kirby, which has adjustable knuckle points to it. It adjusts in 3 different sections, and then one section is going to tab into the hole right here, just like that. And then the other end of it is going to attach to Kirby. And when you look at Kirby, when you get him out of the box, he has actually a hole located just on the back, and that's just going to attach to the peg. Just kind of wiggle the peg in place, just like that. The interesting thing is when you are putting it into Kirby, it seems like it sits a bit on an angle, like you don't put it straight through. Let me just show you again, so you see what I'm talking about. When you untab it, if you try to put it in at a leveled off place, it won't actually fit in. You'll actually want to put it in on an angle, if that makes sense. And again, that will give you the option then that you can display Kirby in various different poses. If you want to have it completely flat on the base, well, simply just a case of bending the staff, the adjustable neck here, to a leveled place. It's just low enough at least that he looks like he's actually standing on top of it. Something that you can go with. Or if you want to have Kirby again in a flight pose, you can just bring that up like that, and Kirby's instantly in a flying pose. That's pretty cool. I like the way that they've done that. Kirby, again, is a small character and doesn't have the sufficient means available to him that he's actually able to stand on his own. So it's good that he comes with a display stand like this so that you can actually get him in some interesting enough poses. Certainly, again, when we start bringing in some of the other accessories he comes included with, this display stand's going to come mighty in handy. Now, I did say he came with a lot of accessories, and that was a bit of an understatement. If you look at all the things that Kirby comes included with, and don't worry, we're going to kind of go through everything together. Good Smile really did pack the package with much needed accessories for such a small character. Like most Nendoroids tend to be at least double this size. Kirby is one of the smallest around. So it is good. It is good that he comes packed with as much as he does. I think before we extensively get into the accessories, what I will do is I'll take Kirby off of his display stand, and we'll kind of just look at the figure first, and then we'll kind of get into everything else. Now, this one was a particular interest of mine, one of which I wanted to get picked up for a long time now. I looked online and at places like Big Bad Toy Store and other various markets, hoping to eventually bite the bullet and pay for him and, of course, order him online. Lady Luck smiled upon me, though. I happened to go to Toys R Us, and I was looking, if anything else, I was looking for the McFarlane Toy DC Multiverse figures. I veered off, of course, I went to like the video game section where there tends to be more the NECA stuff than anything else. And while NECA's offerings were pretty dry at Toys R Us, I happened to look down. My periph went down and spotted what I thought was something, and sure enough, when I picked up the packaging, reinstated the fact that it was Nendoroid's Kirby, and it was one left of him. Again, it was Lady Luck smiling down on me, so I grabbed it as quickly as I could. I'm sure if there were kids in my way, I would have thrown them out of the way. No, I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have thrown them out of the way, but I would have certainly moved at a brisker pace, dashing down to grab the packaging for myself, and luckily, like I said, Kirby was in my possession. I think the price point for this guy was about $44.99, which isn't all that bad based on the fact that the online stores that I found this guy at we're probably about a little over that, and then shipping, of course, and all the exchange rate and everything else after the fact, this guy would have been a spicy meatball. He's not a spicy meatball, mind you. He's a rather cool-looking cloud. And let me just show you how Kirby, basically works. He's a sphere. Well, as best of a sphere as you could come up with, other than the fact he's got a big hole on the back of his bum. But he is a sphere nonetheless. Now, you would obviously ask the question, well, how could he be posable if he is a completely perfect sphere? And that I can answer that with showing you guys here that these are magnets. The magnets are really quite strong. Each one of the arms, each one of the legs are all attached to his body via magnets. And the really good thing about that is that you can rotate and move Kirby's arms and his legs independently from one another until you get the desired pose that you want. The surface of the material is not quite completely plastic. It almost feels like it's got a bit of a smooth, sheen over top of it. And then his face is printed over top of that. The only section that actually isn't printed necessarily, and instead sculpted and breaking up a bit of that perfect sphere is the fact that his mouth also is recessed. In other words, it's sunken lower in there versus the rest of his face. They've airbrushed on the front the eyes, the glistening, cute little eyes of Kirby, and cheeks. And like I said, he's just a perfect representation of Kirby. I don't think you could have possibly pulled this off in a better way. The two other options would have simply just been to have this guy completely staction. In other words, you wouldn't be able to move the arms, you wouldn't be able to move the legs. Or they would have had to put very limited articulation where maybe he could just only move his arms back and forth a bit, and the exact same thing could be said for the legs. The thing about it, though, is while you are looking at this, let me just pull one off to show you. They have put the same sort of material. Again, it's just the type of plastic I'm guessing that they've used more than anything else. I don't think they've put something like a layer of something over top of it, but they put just this little ledge on the side to prevent the scratching. Like the magnet is in there. It also tells you R1 to tell you that it's his right arm. If you pull this one off as well, you've got L for left. But the thing about it, though, is because it's got that little ledge of plastic happening right there, it's just enough there that it doesn't have any, from what I can see so far, any scratching that's caused to the surface of the plastic. The only place I probably wouldn't start moving the hands across is the face. Just because the way that it's been painted on the surface, the last thing I certainly would want is to have that scratch across the front and damage the paintwork. But other than that, I mean, you can pretty much move the arms and the legs anywhere that you really wanted to. You can move it up, you can move it down. Well, you know what? You guys get the idea. You guys are very smart. You guys know how that works. It's not a new piece by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, the Nendoroid Kirby has been around for a while. But again, it's always been on my wish list. My own personal wish list of things I wanted to pick up. Kirby was always near the top of that list. And boy, oh boy, you can imagine how excited I was to see one. And again, one only at Toys R Us. I couldn't have grabbed it any bit quicker. So Kirby does have some interchangeable head options. He does have the sort of holding, as he's swallowed, not quite swallowed, he's sucked in one of his enemies, or perhaps something else, and he's just sort of holding it in place. Or he could also be levitating, as again, if he sucks up and just kind of levitates, he has that face sculpt right there, or that face printing. Kirby also has this option as well. A little bit more angrier Kirby by comparison to the one that is defaulted as packaging. And then he also has this one as well. I'm really a big fan of this one. I like the way that that's been sculpted with the big giant mouth. To change out any one of the faceplates, it's only until you really start looking at it do you see a seam running around the parameter of Kirby's body. So the key is really just shifting the feet, move those back, shifting the hands, moving those back, until you get a good, comfortable access point to that sphere. I mean, you could really just take these off if you wanted to as well. But if you want, you can just, like I said, just shift those to the back. Then take the front and just twist it. Once you twist it, you can quite easily pop that off. Sort of you can understand how that is just attached in place. See, it fits along its groove, and when you twist it, it then slides into that slot right there, completely locking it in place. Grab the desired Kirby face that you want. Let's go with this one just for the time being. I'm sure I'm probably going to change it up again. You can take the circle and fit it into the open area here, and you want to make sure that the ledges are sort of on the sides, like just line up everything. There we go, like that. And then you're just going to twist it clockwise. And once that happens, then you've got, once again, that face locked in place. You can move those arms again and the feet again wherever you want that to be. Then you can, again, take the peg on the back of the adjustable neck, slide that into place like so, and you've got yourself Kirby in a rather delightfully, well, shooting pose, like, you know, he's shooting at one of his puffs of smoke or shooting at one of the enemies. Really, again, a neat look. One of the other favorite head sculpts I like is this one here, the angrier Kirby. So again, we'll just move those arms back, move the legs back, take the front, twist it forward, take the head, twist it back in. You can see how easily and how quickly the faces can be changed out. And there you've got Kirby with his angrier expression. Let's have a look at some of the other accessories Kirby comes included with. For Fire Kirby, we can just kind of move those hands down, and he does come with this fiery crown. All of the hat accessories are things that you want to be very careful of. Resist the urge if you can. These are also magnetized, so you could survive the blizzard test of tipping that upside down. The hat isn't going to be going anywhere, but just be careful when you are moving the hat around. I think it's best, I feel it's best at least, to put the hat down and resist the urge to slide it around. Especially, again, moving it over across the face. You would definitely not want to cause damage to the paintwork that they did in the eyes, the cheeks, and the mouth. Then we can go ahead and attach this once again to the base, just like that. The hat, as you could probably guess, it does add some additional weight to Kirby, but the neck does seem to hold it well enough. I might actually just go in there with maybe a screwdriver and tighten up those screws. To go along with that, he also does come with one of his fiery blasts. It can be attached. There's a hole right there, and you also do get a secondary sort of adjustable neck, and you can just attach that just to the underside like that. Twist it, resist the urge to push it in. Instead, you might find it easier, and just, you won't cause as much damage, I think, to this being a clear post. Don't force it on top, just sort of wiggle and twist it in place. Then again, you can take the neck, just pop that into the front of the display stand. There we go. And you've got Kirby firing off a fire shot. There we go. So that's one option that you can display the figure with. Go ahead and take that off. And we'll take Kirby off. The hat, the crown, the fire crown, definitely adds the most amount of weight to this Kirby. So we'll just take that off. Kirby does also come included with the Link hat. We'll just put that in place as well. What an adorable sight to see. Little Kirby with his Link hat on. And to go, of course, with that, Kirby comes included also with the sword. The sword is nicely colored in a kind of silver blue color scheme. And then the blade itself is done in a silver as well. Nice gold in the center section. Now, obviously, his hands are completely sculpted shut. So obviously, how are you going to attach that in place? Well, he does also come with a secondary arm. We'll just take the hand, the original hand that God gave us, just attach that in place like so. And then you'll notice that this one right here does have sort of a best area that you can then take the sword and attach it in place. And there you've got Kirby with the sword. Now this is a great look. The one thing I think that Good Smile should have also included as well is a secondary arm. Now granted, this could go on either side. Like you could put this over here if you wanted to. Just take this arm off. Take this, put this over here like that. You could have Kirby on this side if you wanted to. The problem still comes though, and this is something I was going to mention as well, is that Good Smile I think should have also included a secondary arm. So let me just take this off to show you what I mean. I feel personally both the wand, which we will look at soon, and the previously looked at sword, don't worry, we'll go back to that, both attach the exact same way. But if they gave you a secondary arm where this part was on the end, then you could display the sword out this way. Now you may not have displayed the wand this way, but I would have actually liked to be able to display Kirby with the sword going sideways, or even at a slight angle. This obviously isn't adjustable. You can compensate it, I suppose, by bringing the arm slightly down, but it kind of just looks like he's moving his arm down than actually moving his hand down if Kirby actually has feasible hands. I mean, they're just sort of cloudy stumps. That's the only thing I would have changed on this, is the idea of being able to adjust the arm by giving it another secondary arm to include. And as I'd already mentioned, we can take the hat off and we can give Kirby his wand. I probably wouldn't make him so angry, of course, displaying him with the magic wand. But again, you can swap out the different face portraits until you get the desired one that you want. Why don't we actually just do that right now? We'll move those to the back, move this to the back, move this to the back, twist this off, and why don't we go with, maybe we'll go back to the one that we started with. I kind of like the look of that one. And that one I feel works one of the best ones with the magic wand, and you can display him like that. I think when it's going to be all said and done, while I do like the fiery crown, I do like the fiery blast that Fire Kirby can have, and while I do like the Link hat and sword, I think for me, simple is best. Kirby's Dream Land, after all, was the introduction for me for Kirby, so I really want to kind of keep him in the more OG look, and then I'll just likely display him like that. Again, you just take this, attach it to the back of the display stand like so. Make sure you do, of course, tip that on an angle. And if you wanted to, you can kind of have Kirby kind of on his one foot. There you go. And what a cute little character Kirby is. Obviously, when it comes boiled down to articulation, well, we've already been looking at the articulation over the last few minutes of me changing out and showing you guys. Again, you can only really rotate the bottom feet, and you can rotate the arms, and they're all done by magnets. The smartest way to go, I think, if you're going to ever make yourself a Kirby action figure. And as it stands, we don't have a lot of Kirby action figures in the sense that you can move things on it. This is one of the best examples because they went the smartest route when it came to his posability. You know, I could still trace back to the time I first laid my eyes on this cute little cloud named Kirby. It was Christmas time, and like every other Christmas time, I went to my grandparents' house, and usually tradition was, until we were old enough to negotiate a different plan, but we always opened gifts after dinner. Well, I mean, after dinner, I had also planned to bring my Game Boy along with me, which I did, and a select series of titles that I knew I wanted to play. Sort of when the night starts quieting down and the adults are discussing things that kids really don't seem too invested in, I could bring out my Game Boy and play some of my video games. And that was when in front of me was presented a present about the size of a Game Boy title. I opened it up, and unbeknownst to me, my grandparents had picked up an unknown little title to me at the time of Kirby's Dream Land. I quickly popped it into my Game Boy, and about it seemed like only an hour or so later, might have even been less than that, I quickly smoked through the title. It wasn't very long, and it wasn't very hard at all. But my love for Kirby started that night, and it hasn't gone away. Every subsequent release of video game title that featured Kirby in the name, or certainly in the game itself, I would pick it up and add it to my collection. Now, Good Smile Company released Nendoroid version of Kirby from Kirby's Dream Land a while ago. This isn't a new release by any stretch of the imagination. The downside, unfortunately, though, is any of the local comic book stores that I've checked out, nobody really carries this kind of stuff. I'd have to go to more specialty stores to find it, or the option, of course, was to pick this up online. And along with that, I can either go the gamble of eBay and hope that I'm not going to be getting a knockoff, or I could go to more reputable online companies and, of course, pay the exchange rate, the shipping, and yada, 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 all that extra stuff. And sure enough, Lady Luck smiled upon down on me. Thank you, Lady Luck. I happened to go to Toys R Us just one chance night with the hope of finding some McFarlane DC Multiverse figures, and sure enough, I stumbled onto one, just one, Nendoroid Kirby. One was only one that I needed. I didn't need to pick up more than one, so I was pleased as punch to add this to my cart, took it home and immediately opened it up, and still my love for Kirby lasted all of these years, was sort of rejuvenated again when I opened up and had a look at Nendoroid Kirby. Good Smile Company, though not delivering a very large representation of Kirby, he's very, very small. He has all the type of articulation you would hope to have for a cute little cloud like Kirby, while keeping all the posability and all the articulation concealed. Making use of magnets was the best way to go, so that when you are moving and manipulating Kirby's arms and his legs, the rest of his body still remains untouched. It's almost like magic, the fact that you can actually move his arms and his legs. Like I said, he's not very big, but at the very least, Good Smile Company throws in a whole lot of extra bonuses. A couple of interchangeable hats, a fiery blast, a sword, and of course the magic wand, and of course the icing on the cake. For me, at least, when it comes to displaying Kirby here in his OG look, is the fact he does have 4 interchangeable faceplates. Simply just twist it off. Well, I'm not going to get into boring you on that. You guys haven't brought your Game Boy along with you, but the idea is, you saw it in this video, how quickly and easy it was to twist the faceplate off and replace it with the one that you want to use instead. This is, again, a perfect representation of Kirby. One of my all-time favorite Nintendo characters. I have a serious love for Kirby, so you can imagine how happy and delighted I was, elated I was to find this guy at local retail. I didn't have to fork out any additional and unnecessary funds, like I said, shipping and exchange rate and all that horrible stuff that goes along with ordering online. If you're in Canada, and all those additional hidden costs that you end up having to pay after the fact. Found it at local retail, took it home, and I was a very pleased panda. Did you pick up this one for yourself? Are you a big fan of Kirby like I am? Let me know down below in the comments section. Also, if you are new to this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, turn on the bell notification, and keep your peepers peeled, because there's going to be a whole lot of future content coming to this channel in 2020. I always feel like I'm saying it like I'm really explaining that we are in the future. We are in the year 2020. Doesn't really feel like anything unless we have robotic dogs and hoverboards. And last time I checked, I'm looking at the calendar, because I do mark these things down after all. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. No hoverboards and robot dogs. There's always 2021, I suppose. As I said, keep your peepers peeled, because there's going to be a whole lot of videos coming your way to 2020 throughout the course of this year. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys next time.